Hi everyone. So last time we talked about substitution, and today we're going to learn a third method for solving systems of equations, and this one is called elimination. We're going to learn elimination by one step today, and we're going to learn multi-step in the next lesson. So before we go through some example problems, let's look at the steps we're going to take to solve a system of equations using elimination. So our first step is going to be that we make sure that the coefficients of one of our variables are opposites. So what I mean by that are you can choose either x or y and make sure that the coefficients, like you see here in the example, like -3 and 3 are opposites. So a positive number and its negative counterpart. So opposites should go here. And our next step is going to be to add or subtract the equations based on what you're given. One variable after you do this should be eliminated. So this is eliminated. And what I mean by that is that you'll end up adding your two equations in your system. So if you add these two together, you get 0x, which is good because you want x to be eliminated, or y, depending on your case. Our third step is going to be to solve for the remaining variable. So you'll have eliminated one, and you're going to want to solve for the other one. Our fourth and final step is to plug in the solution. So plug in the solution from step 3 into one of the equations to solve for the other variable. So in the end, you will have solved for both of your variables. All right, let's put these into action and do some examples. All right, so in our first example, we're given a system where we have 3x minus y equals 5 and x plus y equals 3. Now our first step is to make sure that we have coefficients that are opposites of one of our variables. So let's look at our coefficients here. Well, for x, we have 3 and we have a 1 here. For y, we have -1 or -1 and we have +1. Those sound like opposites to me. So we're going to deal with y. We're going to want to cancel or eliminate y because we already have it set up so that when we add these two equations, which is our second step, we'll get that y is eliminated. Now it's also important to mention here that when you do elimination, you want to line up all of your variables and coefficients and your equals sign. So you want to make sure x is above x, y is above y, your answer is above the other answer, and your equal sign is in place with the other. Now, to eliminate that -y and +y, I'm going to add these two equations together. So I'll put a little plus sign here for myself, and I'll treat this just like I would a normal equation. So I'm going to add, we'll start with this side, I'll add 3x plus x, so I'll get 4x, and when I add -1y plus 1y, I get 0y, so plus 0y equals 5 plus 3, which is 8. Now we know 0y is just 0, so I can bring this further. 4x equals 8, and then I can divide by 4, and I'll get that x equals 2. All right, so awesome. We've already done the third step actually, which is to solve for our variable that remained after we eliminated the other. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our solution from this step, plug it into one of those equations, and find the other variable. Now you can choose whichever one you want. You should get the same answer for y, no matter which equation you plug this x equals 2 into. But to make things easy, I'm going to plug it into the second equation because I don't have to multiply x by anything. So I'm going to take x plus y equals 3, and I'm going to plug in what I found for x. So I found 2 plus y equals 3, and when I subtract 2 from both sides, I get that y equals 1. So my answer here, if you remember when we graphed systems of equations, we found their intersection point, the intersection point of the two lines. So my intersection point here is actually at the point x equals 2 and y equals 1. So that point is 2, 1. And that is my solution. All right, let's do another problem. All right, in our second example, we have a system that says 2x plus 3y equals 20, and 2x minus y equals -4. So I want to first find a pair of coefficients that are opposites. But if I look at my coefficients, I see that I have 2 and 2 for x and 3 and -1. But none of those are opposites. What we can do is identify the coefficients that are identical and subtract our equations, because that way we will still eliminate one variable. What I mean by that is when we look at the x, we see that we have 2x and 2x. So when I subtract these equations, I will find that I have 0x, which is what we want. Now it's also important to check that all of your variables and your equal sign are lined up. So I have x over x, y over y, equals over equals, and an answer over here. All right, so let's subtract these equations, see what we get. So we're going to have 2x minus 2x, which is 0x, 3y minus -1y, so that's 4y, 3 minus -1, and 20 minus -4, which is going to give me 24. We have to be careful with our addition and subtraction here. So 0x is just 0, and I'm left with 4y equals 24. If I divide by 4, I find that y equals 6. So I found my y coordinate, and now I can use this to plug into one of my equations. And I'm probably going to plug it in to the second equation because I don't have to multiply y by anything. So I'll pull this over here, 2x minus y equals -4, and I'll plug in what I found for y. So I'll get 2x minus 6 equals -4. Now I can add 6 on both sides because what I'm trying to do is solve for x, and I'll find 2x equals 2, and I divide by 2, and I get that x equals 1. And since we want our answer in a coordinate pair, this is going to be x equals 1, y equals 6. We're going to have 1, 6, and that's our solution. All right, let's do one more example. Okay, our third example is a word problem, and it tells us the sum of two numbers is 10. The difference of those numbers is -6. What are the two numbers? So we're left to kind of create our own system of equations and then solve it. So let's look at what the information they give us is. They give us that the sum of two numbers is 10. So two numbers, I'm just going to call them x and y. So x and y. And the difference of those numbers is -6. So we're dealing with the same numbers. And they ask us what are the two numbers. Okay, so our first equation is going to be the sum of the numbers. So we're going to find x plus y equals 10. And then they say the difference of the same numbers is -6. So the difference is subtraction, x minus y equals -6. Now I can use elimination to solve this problem. So I actually have two options here. When I look at my coefficients, I see that x and x both have a coefficient of 1. Y and -y have opposite coefficients, 1 and -1. So I have a choice. I can either add the two equations together, and my y's will cancel, or I can subtract, and my x's will cancel. I'm going to add them together, but you can do it either way. You should get the same answer. So let's add them together. Adding, and make sure everything is lined up. X's, y's equals, and I will find x plus x is 2x. Y plus -y is 0y equals 10 plus -6 is 4. 0y is just 0, so I have 2x equals 4. And if I divide by 2, I get x equals 2. So I've solved for one of my numbers. Now I can take this answer, plug it into one of my equations. Doesn't really matter which one since x isn't multiplied by anything here. So I'll take the first one. I'll take x plus y equals 10 and plug in what I know about x. So I'll have 2 plus y equals 10. And I subtract 2 from both sides, and I get y equals 8. So I found my two numbers. X is 2, y is 8. You can double check yourself, make sure that this makes sense by plugging them back in. So the sum of the numbers is 10. 2 plus 8 is 10. The difference of those numbers is -6. 2 minus 8 is -6. So common sense tells us we've done well. All right, now I'll leave you to try these at the bottom of your guided notes.